blonde ale, huh? Outlaw. Yeah, no, these guys sound very familiar.
It's like a 1960s beer.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, maybe
that's Luca shook them all up before you wrote.
He's like, yeah, that idiot.
Alright, so did you listen to any of the ones we did so far?
Right.
So New England Live, basically, there's nothing off of it. It's uncensored, off the cuff.
Good.
You have your business phone?
No. No, this is my regular.
So if somebody was calling you on your business phone, Lee, well,
Hey, it's after 5 o'clock, buddy. It's at my house.
a lot of good is doing you there, Lee. Leonard.
The only people I get
Leonard.
are people who write me and say, like,
We have 80 Facebook likes on the library.
oh, I know. It was 75 earlier today. Did you put that we're doing a podcast with them?
Not yet. I'm going to have you take a picture of us holding
Okay.
Outlaw, and then I'm going to...
The Outlaws with the Outlaws. I got it.
I like that.
There. Why is that too bad, Lee? Alright guys, here we are, New England Alive. It is Monday. Monday, Lee, what is it? November 15th.
Yep.
Thanksgiving is right around the corner. We're back with New England Alive. It's unscripted, it's uncensored, it can go wherever it goes, as always. And tonight, we're here with Brandon Stevens from Project 3D, who has an amazing story. He started out in one thing, and it's morphed into so much more, and there's so many exciting things happening. It's amazing. But I got to give a shout out to our sponsor for the night, Outlaw Brewing Company out of Winchester, New Hampshire. Tonight we're drinking an American Blonde Ale. It's different, but it's really good. It's tasty. It's kind of like unlike anything I'm used to or have had before. So if you guys get a chance, go out and check out their website at theoutlawbrewingcompany.com. Brandon, let's start it off. What's happening, buddy?
What's up, Aaron? How are you?
I'm great. It's been a while. It's been,
Yeah,
a week since I saw you last?
Not really a while, but okay.
And we're here with, hold on, we got to mention Lee too. We're here with, Lee Jandro, my partner, and check out Main Street, and 360 Monadnock, New England Alive, and what's soon to be, now we're going to do 360 podcasts now too, right? So rent the room out to people that want to produce podcasts. So
we got Aaron, Let's Go Brandon, and Bruce Lee.
That's it. Yeah, Grandpa Lee.
Grandpa Lee.
Hilarious. Buddy.
Hilarious. That's what I get. So I get hilarious from Lee.
Yeah.
He's calling me an a-hole. Like, he doesn't come out and
That's a
say
polite
it.
way of saying it.
Exactly.
I like that.
He's
Okay.
like hilarious.
Hilarious.
And that's
Hilarious.
you're an asshole. So anyway.
Censored
So
version.
Brandon. Let's go, Brandon. Lee's shaking his head again.
Just looking for that bus.
So
There you go
let's
there.
talk. So
Good.
I met you through Shay Sterrett.
Yes.
So Shay's one of our clients. We're doing some videography things for her, and she had emailed both of us that you may have had some videography needs, and your response back was, well, we're a new company, and I'm just getting things going, and I don't, blah, 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 maybe money.
Yeah.
In the back of my mind, I'm going, well, if you're just starting your company, you need to start doing some marketing, right?
Yeah.
So you went in and met with Luca, one of our great friends, one of our clients as well. We do a lot of work at the chamber.
Yep, love Luca.
And then you came over here and met me. And I thought it was going to be like a 10-minute conversation, and it turned to what? Like an almost 3-hour
We just
conversation.
didn't stop talking.
Yeah, exactly. So when we started this podcast, New England Alive, I thought, hey, Brandon needs to come on this show, and he needs to explain to us what he is up to. So start.
After, basically, this past year has been crazy. Ever since the pandemic, I've been trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, right? So it's like, before this, I had built an operation where we were helping, we were helping basic companies, regular for-profit companies, get to a position where they could incorporate educational arms and get Google grants for them. Well, I built a system and process around that during the pandemic, and I gave that to a friend of mine to build a business around. So I took a little bit of equity in the business, and I'm sitting here like, what do I want to do next? And so I had a friend in the e-waste world, right, an acquaintance. And e-waste is electronic waste, for most people don't know that. And electronic waste accounts for 70% of all waste from the planet, like toxic waste, and 50% of it has sensitive data on it that's recoverable easily from landfills, right?
So hard drives and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
all that stuff. And I mean, it's like even if you wipe it, it's not guaranteed destroyed, you know? Like if you just reset your phone, it's not guaranteed destroyed. You can still have that stuff recovered to a point unless you go in and do a hard wipe with third-party software that just destroys it, right? And so it's a big thing in the communities. It's actually a bigger problem than most people realize. That kind of drove me into the sustainability realm. And I was like, okay, this is really interesting to be in, right? Like, I was like, I've always been the type where I care more about the mission than the money, even though we all need money and I like money. I definitely like money.
We all like money.
But
I mean,
it doesn't drive me. It doesn't wake me up at night. It doesn't keep me going for something. If I don't have a mission, I get bored. And if I get bored, I don't care how much money I'm making. Just that's simple. And then if I get bored, I'm not going to operate well to build the thing I want to build. So when I got into this world of sustainability, I was like, all right, I'm really liking this because it was deeper than just making money. And I was like, okay. So we started down this road of collecting e-waste, doing data destruction, reselling on a second market, you know, going through that or selling it to partners that recycle it responsibly. They have like e-steward certification stuff. And I got into that. I was like, okay, cool. But one night, me and my friend, Ray, who's heavy...
It's always the one night late.
Yeah,
It's always the one night.
Yeah.
Was there a beer involved in it?
I wasn't drinking, he wasn't.
Okay,
But
okay.
that counts.
Fair
because-
enough.
No.
One night,
Fair
one
enough.
person.
All it takes is one though, right?
Just one. It gets there. But so one night, me and Ray, who I met through Chris Pastrana of the Coworker Londonderry, who's a part of this vision now as well. He's our R&D guy for what I'm about to explain. Me and Ray are on a mastermind, kind of like this, but like Zoom. We're talking back and forth. We have one every Wednesday, and we're sitting there talking about e-waste. And he's heavy into 3D printing, and he's building his own. I want to call it like hedge fund type company called the Santana Capital Group, and he's wrapped up in a 3D printing company as part of that. So he's learned all about 3D printing, like deep into it. Like they can construct buildings from 3D. It's really cool. And so we're having a conversation, and he goes. I'm trying to remember it specifically. He says something along the lines of, you know what would be cool? He's like building a 3D printed building from plastic waste. And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, you can turn plastic into 3D printed filament. And I was like, you can? And he's like, yeah, of course. He's like, not a lot of people are doing it, but he's like, it's intriguing to do so, and they've done it overseas. He's big in Europe and understanding European to US arbitrage, and he's talking about it, and I'm like, why aren't people doing that? And he sort of gets into it a little bit, and then I start researching. I'm like, I wonder if there are machines that can shred it, and we can set it up so that we could take in plastic waste, shred it, melt it down through like heating, cooling, and put it through an extruder and get into 3D printed filament. And after a little bit of research, we found a company overseas that sold the machines. And we were like, wait a minute. Now it's like my brain's ticking and going off, and I'm like, I really like this. I'm like, we can take plastic waste and use technology to turn it into brand new products to put back into the economy. And then, so we got kind of like you and I the first night we met on a long conversation. We started talking more and more that night. Me and Ray were on Zoom for a couple hours, and we were just researching and diving. You know, the light bulb went off, we tripped. And then I was like, I want to build this into UPG, but it doesn't quite fit right now. I'm like, so we're going to start this thing called Project 3D and turn it into a nonprofit and get donations for it, right, to raise the money to figure out what exactly we can turn into 3D printed filament from waste. And plastic was just the beginning. Over time, my friend Chris has discovered we can turn recycled plastic into graphene, though that is a process we will be researching and developing through specific heating and cooling conversion. You can turn plastic waste into graphene, and we've gone down a whole rabbit hole with that because they can't mass produce, like the world can't mass produce graphene right now, but you can produce it on a small scale, right?
Right.
And so everybody's trying to build graphene at a mass scale to create graphene-driven products. And we're like, well, if we can create 3D printed products from recycled plastic, and we can create a little bit of graphene from recycled plastic, why not take those two things we make from recycled plastic and merge them together to create a stronger product, even if that's 95% as good as what it would be if it was just purely graphene, right? And that's better than nothing, in my opinion.
So I'm gonna stop you for a minute.
Go ahead.
So you guys have gone through this process of figuring all this stuff out, right?
Yep.
Nobody's doing this,
People are doing parts of it.
but not all of it, not to the scale that you
Not-
guys are thinking.
Definitely not everything we're putting together
Okay.
at one thing.
So maybe they're refining the plastics, but
Yeah.
they're not including graphene.
Yeah,
Is
there's-
anybody printing 3D parts from recycled technology waste?
So, there are companies that sell recycled 3D printed filament. And there are companies that use third-party partners to produce, how do I put it, recycle, like 3D printed products, but not for like, I want to say, like general use. Like they're like cool things, like artsy things, more type of deal. There are companies that, 3D printing companies that don't use recycled plastic for the pure purpose of developing products to solve problems. I want to combine all three. Because it's like there's a missing piece right there. Is because we can take waste and turn it into wealth and actually make it usable, right? The only thing, there's only a very few industries where that gets a little bit, okay, would we want to use recycled plastic? But if we work with manufacturers and get recycled plastic before the consumers touch it, then it solves those problems as well, so they don't have to worry about that.
Do you want to chime in here at all?
Well, I've seen the houses. I've done a lot of research. They build tiny homes and things out of 3D printed homes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's one piece. The recycle thing, about, I'm going to say 20 years ago, they were working really hard to recycle computers. And we actually used to work with one of those companies, and it came from like a college and a hospital, and their requirement was it had to stay in the United States, but it couldn't go. Go ahead.
No, this all goes to what we talked about the other day.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear Lee, the voice of reason, the man that's been around for a long time, and experienced a lot of things, actually talk about the stuff that you're getting ready to talk about.
Yeah, and wait till I bring up the subject of taking Project 3D and pushing it into the metaverse.
Into the what?
The metaverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
We're
Right,
not
so
there.
I'm just saying, I've seen the results of that, and I've seen the lack. I also remember that, when they began recycling computers and things, everybody was like, we're into recycling, we're into recycling. They had these monstrous, cavernous buildings out in the Midwest that were like half a mile long, 4 stories high, just filled with computer waste.
Right.
Everybody had recycled it, but there was nothing being done
The
with
two
it.
biggest problems on the planet right now are electronic waste and plastic waste. Period. Those are the two biggest problems when it comes to waste.
And the things that we, right now we don't have chips being produced and things like that. And there may or may not be technology. I think there's some beginning technology to take some of that. So we're not relying on, can they dig a hole in a foreign country or manufacture it in a foreign country.
Yeah, and if the U.S. actually did responsible recycling, why did literally, I remember correctly, I know it was 2018, I don't know if I think it was China banned us from shipping things over there, like boatloads of plastic trash.
That's what I'm talking
Like,
about.
if we did things responsibly, if we actually recycled, if we threw it in a green bucket and it actually meant something, why were we shipping boatloads of plastic to China?
That's what I was talking about, these monstrous warehouses.
Yeah.
They were just bringing everybody was like, yeah, I'm recycling, and what they were finding out, that recycle, and I'm only talking about the electronic because the other world of recycling is just as crazy. They're just filling these places and then they decide to ship them over. So when we were getting stuff from universities and hospitals, we had to sign off that we would not ship these products that they gave us. They could not be shipped overseas because a college didn't want to find out that their stuff was sitting in some China landfill.
And that's where the e-waste companies started popping up, and they're getting e-waste shredders and all that type of stuff to shred the electronics, responsibly recycle them, destroy the data, go through that, keep them in the U.S., and go down that route 100%.
You're good.
So,
I'm multitasking here, guys.
Well, since you brought up the graphene, that's like a 2D layer or something, right? I mean, it's like a polymer that acts like
you know how
honeycomb.
graphene is made, right? Like how they discovered it. So graphene was discovered by, I don't know if it was a student or a researcher in a lab, I forget the exact things of it, but basically if you take a pencil, a graphite,
Yeah,
right?
graphite.
And you rub it on a piece of paper, and the person rubbed on a piece of paper to get it on the paper, and then they took a piece of, I think it was Scotch tape, and they put it down over that, rubbed it in, pulled the tape off, and discovered they had pretty much a slightly different substance called graphene, right?
Okay.
And they figured that if layered enough times or made a certain way, graphene can actually be, I think it's like 10 times stronger than diamond and more flexible. So it's like considered the next generation of technology, especially in construction in different industries that's supposed to come into the world. Like there's different videos that talk about the uses of graphene. They believe the first space elevator is going to be created from graphene specifically.
So do they mix that with other products like the recycled
Not right now.
plastic? Okay.
That's our plan.
Okay, just ask. Okay.
Everyone's just worried about creating graphene right now, right? They're not worried about how to get it mixed in with the products or create usable products out of it. They're worried about how do we mass produce graphene. We want to create it, and we don't want to mass produce it. We want to mass produce the end product.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So we believe that coating stuff with graphene, especially 3D printed items, will be just as beneficial as taking the next 20, 30, 40 years to figure out how to produce at a large scale.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
So it becomes part of the
Yeah.
surface,
And-
which
but-
gives it tensile strength.
If we figure out how to do it correctly, and we will, because Chris is an R&D crazy person, I love him, he's very good at what he does, we will be able to take recycled plastic and create 3D printed products,
Right.
and take recycled plastic and create graphene, and then take both those things we created from recycled plastic and put them into each other, and coat the 3D printed products that were made from recycled plastic with graphene made from
That's what I
recycled
thought it
plastic,
was.
and make it a much better end product.
That's what I thought it was.
So it's a stronger product.
Yes,
Yeah,
stronger.
considerably stronger.
And cutting down on the waste issue without
well,
trying to
and-
figure out how to do it in the first place.
And it has lots of longevity because it's stronger, right?
Yes.
People aren't reusing it as fast.
Yeah, and the end life of a 3D printed product is supposed to go back. Like the entire point of 3D, in my opinion, why it's so usable is when you get done, after you create a 3D printed product, when that thing breaks or it goes to the end life of it, or like that product can't be used anymore, you put it back into a plastic shredder and you create another 3D printed product from it. That's a thing. It's part of the circular economy, and a lot of people aren't really connecting the tech to the recycling industry.
You are.
Yeah, that's
why
one
you're
night.
here.
One night. That's a
One night of one guy drinking some beers and the other one, kind of putting it all together.
going through it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the night that we came up with Project 3D. And since then, I've told the vision to several people. We started figuring out operations, putting it together, getting our board together. Before we decided that we even want to be a nonprofit, we had people offer to invest in the company, which we said we weren't even looking for money at that point, but people got it. Like people are like, well, this is really cool. I understand that this is a thing. Let's get into it. But the minute I connected the problem going on with the economy right now to this solution is when things just like, I decided as much as I wanted to be involved in e-waste as well, we needed to focus on this one aspect, and that's why I took UPG, I merged it into Project 3D, and then we went full force to Project 3D from there, and we stopped the e-waste side for now because I came up with the idea, or I came up with a plan of something I call the new supply chain. And the new supply chain is as simple as this. If we can get waste for free or low cost that is taken from plastic and create brand new 3D printed end products from that and sell those end products, whether it's on government contract or to local businesses and local communities, because we get it for such a low amount for free, we can supply businesses and communities with it for a lower, lesser cost, which then they can also resell to their customers for a lower and lesser cost with the same, if not better, margin than they currently have, and that hedges against the rising product cost right now, and because it's all local, it's going to be better logistics as well, and open up jobs. So we believe the new supply chain is built around those three things. We'll have more jobs, better logistics, and lower cost to the end consumer regardless of anybody's beliefs on politics or whatever happens.
So the way I'm hearing this, and Lee probably has some insight on this, and you too, but municipalities make money, right? And do municipalities do they get it to take advantage of tax deductions? You know, could a municipality donate all their plastic to a company, a not-for-profit like Project 3D?
When you say a municipality makes money, the only reason they're there for money is for buildings, equipment, and people. And I don't mean that in a negative way. You have to have people that run the municipality.
So I may edit this out because it's maybe a stupid question, but
There are no
maybe
stupid
not.
questions.
Hold on, do you want my beer?
no, obviously I haven't had enough yet for this all to make sense.
Hold my outlaw.
Yeah.
You gotta put the product promotion in.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, it's like when you and I talked, right? Like municipalities, if you could get with municipalities that pay to recycle, right, plastics, why couldn't Brandon's company step in
okay, that's a
and
different
offload that plastic to them? And is there some benefit that Brandon's a not-for-profit, right? The Project 3D is a not-for-profit, that the municipality would get some benefit from that?
Well, it's not a tax thing, right? I mean, other than the
there's gotta
fact
be-
it has the potential to reduce taxes in the community.
Well, exactly.
Yes, that's.
Or even Luca
So that-
brought up a very interesting plan/idea for me, which we could get to the point of doing this, which would put everybody else that even thought of this idea not going to be able to do it.
Well, are you sure you want to talk about that?